Welcome back to the Sonny Talk Spurs YouTube channel. And yes, we're on the eve of the Premier League returning. I can't believe how quickly it swung around, but we're here. And with the season on the horizon, I thought, why not get a person on the channel making their debut? It's Jim from Oh So Spurs. How are you doing, mate?
I'm doing very good, thanks. Yeah, doing good, thanks, Sonny. It's what a optimistic time to be on just after the Ornstein announcement
I
yesterday.
know.
So,
As I said on my video that went out yesterday, I just couldn't believe I was wrong place at the wrong time, but I reacted to it a little bit later. But I feel like Spurs, social media, rivals, Villa fans mainly. I'm seeing a lot of rattled Villa and Newcastle fans. Just can't believe what we're doing. I mean, maybe that's my first question, mate. What are you making of this this summer so far?
but look, before it started, I said Spurs will break their transfer record, and we won't be the only club to do that. I think
Hmm.
all the big six clubs, apart from Man United, due to them kind of bailing water from previous mistakes, and Chelsea's situation being a bit more unique because they've also spent huge.
Hmm.
Everyone else will break their transfer record, and it was simple. Why? Because the financial regulations changed to SCR, squad cost ratio, and everyone's revenues in that bracket are going up. So everyone's making more money and they're tied to revenue spend, it's going to go
Hmm.
up. And it just felt logical. We've seen the signs since I don't want to get into the big old Levy debate now, but with him moving on, you have got a less cautious viewpoint on spending, I think,
Yeah.
and a bit more focus on the short term on pitch success. So I think when you just add those things together and those cash injections, look, historically, Spurs haven't put much into the club from an ownership perspective, but in the last 5 years, they've put more than they have in the previous 20 put together. So again,
Hmm.
it was just lining up for it. And the last thing was I just thought Villa and Newcastle and Forest are doing their best to bridge that gap between Spurs because we're the first one you take out if you want to get into the top big six, aren't we? We're
Yeah.
the first stepping stone. So we're their first target. I think that's why they're so weird about us. But they yeah, they if they keep finishing in Europe and we don't, they're going to eat away at that revenue gap we have between them. So I think
Hmm.
Spurs have realised like you've got to use the nitrous. You've got to kind of use your spending power now to burst away
Exactly.
from them, and that's why they're all kind of flapping and panicking because we're doing it. It's making my
Yeah, I
wife
mean,
worried.
I had a big debate yesterday with a West Ham fan who I work with at talkSPORT about like this whole spending because I was saying, well, you guys have spent. Look at the
Hmm.
money you've spent, and don't get me wrong. I mean, you mentioned the Levy debate there. I think Levy got us to a level of being self-sufficient. That's like we came in, like all these rule changes are about. So there's not another City or a Chelsea. We've done it our own way and in such an efficient way. But what we needed to do was get rid of Levy really to then bridge the gap even more and increase wages when there's an extra 10 million on the table. Levy would turn away and be an awful negotiator, whereas now if we do all these signings, we've got six already signings from the Premier League. I know some of them are free agents. If we make another three signings that are being rumoured at the time of recording, nine Premier League players. Like Levy wouldn't even, he'd be going into the Serie A or La Liga just to negotiate with a team. But yeah, it's a good time to be a Spurs fan. But obviously, as part of the intro, if you want to subscribe to the channel, get down below. At the time of recording, I'm about 400 subs away from 15,000. So if we can get to that before the start of the season, that would be great. This video will be collab with Oh So Spurs on YouTube as well. So get down below and subscribe to them. Leave your likes, comments about pre-season predictions as well. This is what the video is going to be about as we get onto it. But what I want to ask you first, Jim, pre-season just gone. So Spurs
Hmm.
undefeated. Roberto De Zerbi getting a bit more of that De Zerbi style that we knew him for at Brighton and Marseille, for
Hmm.
example. When he came in to save us in the last 7 games, it was a bit more pragmatic, wasn't it? It was a bit, well, not as pragmatic as maybe Thomas Frank, but he did it a little bit differently.
He did.
What have you made of the pre-season? And going into this season, what are your sort of feelings in general?
Yeah, the preseason doesn't. It gives us some information into what we're going to see, and there were some changes to what we saw in that last 7 games he had last season. I would say, by the way, when you take the points tally of those last 7 games last season, it does put Spurs into the European places, despite
Mm,
that team that they had. But looking into it now, I think we're seeing tactical shift again from those last 7 games, and this is what's led to some players that we like as Spurs fans and have sentimental attachment to being moved on. When you look at what he wants from his fullbacks, right? He wants what people that are good distributors of the ball. He wants players that come in and form a midfield three at times, whilst one fullback goes up, one stays down, slots into midfield, and offers that distribution. But that means, like, what do you do for Jed Spence? Because he's not someone I really want sat next to a midfielder, deep, ready to be creative. Jed Spence is
Mm.
your ball carrier. He gets the ball, he takes a man on, he leaves him on his bum and goes around. And defensively, Spence is good as well. So I can
Yes.
see why a lot of people are like, oh, what's happening? Some of these players we love, Vuskovic, another one, where his ball playing is just for a player his age. We're not really sure what direction that player's going to go.
Yeah.
It's just led to a lot more brutal decisions. But what I'm really liking is just the ruthlessness to say, let's get him the players he needs to make this function. Let's just go
Mm.
get him the players that needs to function. And the recruitment strategy is consistent, which I really like as well. Like we went for Krupi before that injury. I believe those rumours. But the fact we're going for Marmoush next, there's a significant overlap to the kind of style that we're looking
Mm.
for a striker that comes in deeper, plays that false nine role, and that's what I think has been the biggest change for me. It's been a recruitment strategy with a plan rather than identifying opportunistic moments in the market. Because I think Spurs always spent quite big. Like Richarlison and Solanke are £120 million striker pair. But I feel those were more, oh, well, they're homegrown. Well, Solanke's homegrown and he's available. Richarlison, all they've been relegated, we could get him, for a decent price here. Rather than, is that the exact profile this manager is looking for in a player right now?
Mm.
Now we're like, I don't care. We'll pay double the wages of what our preferred option would be as a club, and we're happy to go ask Man City for their players rather than just looking at Bournemouth. So I'm really excited by that, and I think Roberto De Zerbi is one who's spoken up before to say he's not scared to say, I want my aim's to win stuff, my aim's to win titles. I want to challenge for it. Why else am I here? So all those things combined, I think that's just the trajectory of a club that challenges for things. That's the behaviours of a club that challenges for things. And look, we mentioned Levy before. I don't think we could have got to this point that we are now without what he did, but we
Mm.
wouldn't be doing it if he was still here. So
Yeah.
it was just the right
100%.
time for the divorce.
Yeah, and that's what annoys me about, people from the outside, the rival fans will go, well, you got to thank Levy for this. But they forget all the times when we didn't pay up for Jack Grealish. We didn't pay that extra. Yeah, I think that's such a good word you've used there, the ruthlessness of like just coughing up money, coughing up wages. How many times has a team, it started with Semenyo in January, where we offered more wages than Manchester City, and everyone
Mhm.
was like, this is a bit different. And then I know Conor Gallagher has polarised people, but we coughed up more money than Villa, more wages, and that's how you do convince players to sign. I just feel like that is the way it happens. And I feel like you make some really good points there, like overall about just the way Spurs are operating. For years they've wanted to dine at the top table. They want to, when we talk about the big six, I find the big six as a thing quite cringy. I don't know, like it, because people go, it's not about the finances. It is technically, but if you're trying to take it in general, Spurs are a big club. We are one of the biggest clubs in the country, but we were flirting with it. We were getting into Champions League, but we were never bridging that gap. And then also, what I think is quite good is you say about profiles. I think so many times I've seen a manager come in like Antonio Conte, and he hasn't got the team at his disposal that really, he's playing Longley, he's playing Eric Dyer, he's not got the players to suit that system. Then another manager comes in, and he actually has the players that gets the players that Conte would have needed. And you think, why has there been such a mishap? But finally, I think it's taken how many years since Poch left to realise to really grow and build, you have to spend money. You have to in this summer, we've transformed our midfield, we've transformed our defence, and now at the time of recording, we're trying to transform our attack. Sometimes people think these takes a couple of windows, but Spurs are being quite bolshy and getting it all done in one window, which, this topic really leads nice to my next question. With the new signings that have been confirmed, so Andy Robertson, Marcus Senesi, Jan Paul van Hecker, Martin Dubravka, Sandro Tonali, and Mateus Fernandez. What are you making? One of what you've seen so far of them on the pitch, and just in general, like going into the season, like are they plugging gaps? I mean, I know the big word with all those players, well, most of them, is progression. and passing forwards. Are you just excited with some of these names?
Yeah, like, and this is going to sound really negative at first, but hear me out. I think Spurs are in a way stronger position. But if
Mm.
you look at it segment by segment across the pitch, in terms of goalkeeper, we're weaker than last season. You know, we've got our number two is now a number one, or our same number one's a number one. But
Yeah, yeah,
Vicario is gone, so it depends if you think Dubravnik is better than Vicario. But anyway, let's just say it's flat on the goalkeeper front. But
yeah,
having that certainty that we're sticking with Kinski and he's a better fit, maybe you could say there's some improvement there. But in terms of personnel, it hasn't actually changed really.
mm.
Defense, I think Romero was our best player, arguably in the squad on his day. We can get into availability and all those kind of arguments that go on forever in a
Yeah,
proverbial loop. I'll leave that one. But on his day, if you had one Tottenham player in a cup final on that absolute form from the squad of last season, you'd probably pick Romero because you just know in those big games when he feels it and he wants something back, he's just going to turn it on.
yeah,
And he's gone. So I think as a ceiling, the defense is actually, with Spence going as well, as a ceiling, it may have actually come down a little bit. But as a
okay,
floor, it's way up.
mm.
So it's way more balanced than it was because you've got a much better fit in Robertson as well. You've got actual proper left back up now. I think we do need to replace Spence. I think the two centre backs, for me, the most important tribute is availability. If you don't have availability, what's the point in being great? Romero missed over
Yeah,
40 games a season, 40 days a season for the last 4 seasons. So, having a Van Hecker who might be, let's just say 5-10% worse than Romero, but having him every week to me is better than having a better player 2/3 of the season.
yeah, that's a good shout.
So I think the floor's risen and overall defense is better. But if you went just man by man, overall, maybe the ceiling's a little bit lower, but overall defense is still better for me.
Mm.
It's going to do more consistent output. Midfield, it's just been revolutionized. It's just gone from bottom half kind of quality. Bentancur's good in his day, of course, but there's really not much there to, Champions League level midfielders, which is just awesome. I think Fernandes and Tonali are going to be arguably in the top three midfield pairs in the division. So that leaves the attack, doesn't it? That's the bit that looks it can look really good on one page when you just list all the players we've actually got, but then when you look at who's available, it's frightening how little we have.
Mm.
So yeah, if we get those three attackers, I think you've gone from mid-table to like a really good Champions League level first 11 with some proper depth across most of the park as well. So I think then that suddenly puts Spurs in a conversation of if we got those three attackers, my expectations are now suddenly top four, top five, and you're in that beautiful spot that you're not going to transfer window trying to sign five players. You're like, where is that £100 million person that now takes us from fourth to second or first?
Mm.
Arsenal got there to that stage, and I want to get to that point where, and I think when you get better, it gets easier to sign players. Signing
Yeah.
players to Man City is easy. You literally just go,
Yeah, it's the pick
who's
of the crop, isn't it? So you just go
yeah.
out and go, yeah, I want him. Okay, yeah, fine.
We all wanted Haaland for 50 million quid. Everyone in Bournemouth can afford that, but he's not going to go
Mm,
join Bournemouth because they're not going to pay 500 grand a week. But
mm,
also, he can choose any club in the world, and he's not going to pick anyone but Man City, PSG, Real Madrid or Liverpool. That's
yeah.
it. So it gets
Mm.
easier for them. But I'm super excited. I think Spurs are going to come back to playing great football again. We're going to be back into those European spots, but this time there'll be ambition to kick on from those European spots to the silverware at the end.
Yeah, because I guess what you got to think is this is hopefully just the beginning. Like
Mhm.
this is, this is if De Zerbi, you keep him level-headed and he doesn't blow up, it could go on to. But I think the way De Zerbi's talking is quite good. Like from this pre-season, it's the most positive I've heard him in a club, and maybe it is because he is getting backed. One point I wanted to pick up with you is on the Romero thing. So I think Romero's best attribute on his day was his passing. I think there was a stage where I said he was one of the best passers in the squad. And because of our lack of midfielder passing, because Bentancur's quite, short, sharp passing, and Palhinha and Gallagher are not really known for their passing range, I sort of believe that was his best attribute. But if we brought Van Hecker in, who's also a good passer, who, might make mistakes. I mean, he literally made a mistake against us last year. But if you have him against a competent centre back like Van der Ven, who's not now going to be doing those sort of stupid runs where he's going to pull his hammy or something. You know, he's actually going to have, you know, again, Van der Ven's a good passer on his day. Senesi's a good progressive passer. Tonali, especially, I feel like it's you hit the nail on the head there. This is the Tottenham that we want to see as fans. Mm-hmm. And it was summed up again in the Hoffenheim game when Tonali picks the ball up, straight away forward pass into Robertson, first time cross, and it's a goal. Like, that is literally the most Tottenham Hotspur goal I think I've ever seen for a good long time. Maybe probably Ange did it a few times, but then you'd be worried that you'd missed the chance and someone would go up the other end and maybe put it away. But yeah, I just feel like I get what you mean in the sense of, you know, when people look at, you know, we have lost some good players, maybe for not great fees, but it's one of those ones where if Romero doesn't want to stay, I don't want him at the club. Same with Spence, you know. I guess it was something you said earlier as well. Like, for years and years and years, Tottenham fans would always have a go at Richarlison, for example. And then when it's close to him leaving, everyone goes, do we need to sell him? Should we be selling him? It's like the money's there. Just sometimes you have to cut ties. I know we get like these cult icon statuses and we end up loving players, but you know, sometimes you have to cut the tie, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, look, City don't want to sell Savinho or Marmoush, but Spurs are offering something those two players want, and that is starting football in the Premier League whilst matching their wage demands. Like, it's Spurs on the flip side have the same challenge, and we're selling players. People go, should we have sold Romero? Well, he asked to leave. We didn't ask him to leave. This was all on his. Like, he said, I don't want to be anymore. I've done my path. Okay, cool. Well, what's the point in then just saying no, and then just saying we've all seen the Levy chat with Ericsson when he sat him down, and it's like, no, you're worth more money, so you're not going anywhere. And then he ends up going for pittance, and it's just no one really actually wins out of that. It's like a silent protest. Same with Spence. People say don't get rid of him, but you imagine being him. He's on rumoured. We know we don't know players' exact wages, but he's rumoured to be on between 40 and 50k a week. So. That wouldn't put him in the top 20 players in the Championship in terms of pay. And he's just on the international stage had a really good cameo in the World Cup. So he knows he's not thick. He's like, my value is high. I'm getting interest from some decent clubs here who are probably going to double my salary off the bat.
No brainer.
So do I sit at Spurs and be second or arguably, so third choice left back and second choice right back at Spurs? Or do I go to Inter Milan, challenge for a title, play in the Champions League, double my salary, and live next to Lake Como? So we're not going to say no. You can't
with John
just tell
Stones
a
and
player
Curtis Jones as well. So like they're building a little English contingent. He's played in Italy. Like, it's literally a no-brainer, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not. There's not much you can really do. We could just say, yeah, you're not going anywhere. But do you think that's going to end well? Do we think Spence is going to just be saying, yeah, that's fair enough, I'll just crack on? I think if I was him, I'd be saying, come on. Let's be real here. The money's on the table, and that was Inter Milan's second biggest transfer in 5 years.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And I just also think, like, another thing when people go that it was such a low wage. It's like, but would you rather he went to Man United for 40 just because you got what he's valued, but you're also sending him to a rival? But I also said, because the amount of debates I had about Jed Spence was obviously a lot more than Romero, but I was sort of saying he doesn't start in our best team. He doesn't really fit this manager. Like,
no.
it's like pining for an ex. Like, it's over. Just sort of like, you got to deal with it now. Like, De Zerbi doesn't really fancy him. He doesn't fancy it. He's had at the World Cup he was good, but like, he's also didn't have the best of seasons last year. And Pedro Porro just won a World Cup and was fantastic. Signed a new deal. Van der Ven signed a new it's almost like De Zerbi is in a boat and he's like, you either staying to me or you're going overboard. Like, you're with me or you're not with me. And that's probably something we need. Like, we don't need passengers because we've had them for the last 2 years and we finished 17th back to back with Europa League in the middle. But I'm happy with a bit of the word you said, which I really rate, ruthlessness of Tottenham Hotspur. Speaking of that ruthlessness, we've mentioned it a couple of times. And at the time of recording, this is at about 10:30 on Thursday. Tottenham last night, massive transfer news that they are really keen to go to City, get the Savinho deal that's been rattling on for a year done, get Omar Marmoush, who I've been manifesting for the last couple of months, and Cody Gakpo still looks like it's on as well. Now, If we bring those three players in, Jim, just take the floor and tell me like what could they do to us, especially Mamouche, surely.
Yeah, especially one game a week, we'd hope they'd be playing together vast majority of games. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what takes Spurs from pushing for a European spot next season to, in my view, being in that top five. And if everything goes your way with a bit of luck, you're at Christmas going, well, we're within 6 points of the top here. Do we go again in January? Try bring that one like exciting signing in that maybe kicks us on because all those other clubs above us, they've got European football to contend with. We don't. So this could
Mm.
be a big advantage. I do say, unfortunately, I think Chelsea are going to be in there with us. I think it's be us
Yeah,
two,
yeah.
having quite strong seasons next year. But I think Man United will drop off massively. But anyway, that's another discussion. Yeah, so I think you could do a lot, but it's also bringing in people who have won trophies and the biggest trophies and aren't all past their best. When you look at that team, if you had Savinho, Gakpo, Marmoush, and you've also got Robertson, who's older, yes, but you've got Champions League winners, Premier League winners. We've got World Cup winners in the side.
Mm,
Suddenly, you're going into a dressing room and going, there is lots of players with experience here who know how to get these games over the line, and as
mm.
leaders, some of them as well. So I'd be really, really excited for that. I think it also puts us in with a really good shot of a domestic trophy this year. And
Yes.
I'd love to see Spurs. I think De Zerbi will take those cups seriously, more seriously than we've seen from other managers in recent seasons. So, yeah, the opportunity to do something is special. I think we need to be a little bit patient in the opening period. That first
Hmm.
few games before the international break, Spurs have had a huge amount of change. Pre-season, we haven't seen our best 11 play together. And some of these players are being moved on because they're low on confidence and they're out of form and they're being replaced. So De Zerbi has a history of getting confidence up of players better than anyone else. Well, Ange was up there as well, to be fair to him. But yeah, so you've got to give the likes of Marmoush, who had a weak World Cup, but has shown he's a great
Mm.
player on his day, chance to get going again. Gakpo, same. But yeah, on form, I think the opportunity is there for Spurs to just be right back in those Champions League spots and just be one or two more signings away from pushing for silverware at the top of the table.
And you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of, and I don't like to bring up the old enemy, Arsenal, but when they went to City, and it was the start of Mikel Arteta's sort of reign, and we all joked about it. But when he went to City and went, I'll have Gabriel Jesus and Zinchenko, and we might look back at it now and go, oh come on, like they didn't have the most illustrious careers, but it was one of those things of like you talk about the experience, the winning, the playing under an elite manager of like, let's take some players who they were assets to see, weren't they, Zinchenko and Jesus? You can't probably argue against that. Same with Mamouche. Like Mamouche, we forget electric when he was at Frankfurt, even when he came to City. But you're just not going to get in that team over Erling Haaland, Doku, and Phil Foden. They're putting their eggs in that basket, signed a new deal, so you are really competing with and same with Savinho, even Gakpo. If Liverpool go out and spend 150 million on Barcola, and I think they also want and buy from PSG, then he is maybe surplus to requirements. And also, I think Savinho's had a good pre-season,
Yeah,
and Cody Gakpo's had a good pre-season. So you're getting players in who I think they're being harshly treated them because they're linked with Spurs. It's same with it's Tonali. It's this whole thing when Anne said Tottenham does strange things to people because Tonali was a rated midfielder a couple of months ago. He comes to us and it's a cash grab, a money opportunity, and all of that. And I think you're right about De Zerbi. I think he's going to get them all on side. I feel like he's going to really like put his arm around, improve them. They've all, a lot of that Tottenham squad were in the Europa League, so they won that. They've got the taste for that. Tonali won the Carabao Cup, so he's a winner as well in his own right. But I just feel like it is moving in the right direction. I guess my only other question, because we've mentioned some of the signings there, what does it mean for some of the other players at Spurs? I'm thinking Tell, who's had quite a good pre-season. What happens to him? Mikey Moore, still rumoured to be going out on loan, had an all right pre-season. Archie Gray has captained the side. Is his future at right back? Do you know what I mean? There's like a lot of players who are. Lucas Bergwell's been rumoured with a move, and like he might be staying and looks all right. Do you think a lot of them are at a crossroads in their career, or do you still think there are places for them in this Spurs squad?
there's still spaces for them, but not all of them right now. So Mikey Moore, there's no consequence of losing his homegrown status or anything like that if you loan him out another year. So I think he's going to go out on loan. And it depends on the weakness of each position, right? I think Spurs do need another right back, but Archie Gray can cover it. But I don't think we should do that. But anyway, he's going to get a lot of minutes. That Captain Armband, having it 3 times in pre-season, I think was a De Zerbi saying, "You're important to me. Stay around. I need you." So he's gonna be one who gets minutes in midfield and at right back. There will be opportunities for him, and I do think we'll see him start a number of games. Yeah, but not all of them. There are so the other ones though, like Williams Barnett.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what happens there because you've got Gallagher who will drop into that 10 role, but he doesn't offer creative outlay when he's in that role, a completely different function, and that requires the wide players to play differently as well. Do you keep a Williams Barnett around because he's too young to give another contract to at the moment? Um, could he benefit? He's got plenty of time for loans from having a bit of time in the first team around those players. I'd like to see that because remember, De Zerbi, he was the one who brought through Mudryk at Shakhtar Donetsk and got Chelsea to bid £90 million for him. He
Right.
was the one who went to Milan and said, was it Juve or Milan? It was Milan, wasn't it? And he said, Locatelli, you know that guy you're not playing, that kid over there.
Yeah.
Can I have him on loan? And they said, no. He's surplus requirements. You have to buy him. So he went, okay. Bought him, and then 9 months later, he's starting for Italy, and he's winning the Euros. So
Mm.
he has a history, and then he goes to Brighton. And people say, "Oh, well, it's easy at Brighton. You're brought in there, and it's all set up to bring young players through and develop them." He was brought in because he's good at doing that. He didn't go to Brighton and then show he's good at that. He was already doing it at all his other clubs. Sassuolo as well, he was doing it there. And then he brought through Evan Ferguson and loads of others. And it even got to the point where the end of the season, the academy chief basically she said, the under 21s chief said, I think it was Ruth, she said that we credit De Zerbi for bringing the first team and the under 21s together, which is why I remember there was this outcry like he's going to abandon youth when he comes in.
I know. Yeah.
He's just going to be precise with which young players get opportunity and give them proper opportunity. And anyone that's blocking that pathway or not going to get minutes, well, there's no point keeping them around. Let them go get minutes somewhere else. Don't ruin their
Mm.
career. So the likes of Will Lancashire and that, they're gone. And good for them. We've got all these buyback clauses. We can take him back if we need to. But I don't think the Cities and the Liverpools win leagues by being overly sentimental. I think they're
Yeah.
they're pretty ruthless, and most of their young players they bring in are poached from other clubs at a young age anyway. They're not
Yeah.
actually, born and bred from the area. They're nicked off a Spurs or an Arsenal or whoever else when they're 12, and then they turn into one of their academy products. So I think we're
Exactly.
doing the same approach now. We're just being much more ruthless with it.
Yeah, again, ruthless word that is coming out quite a bit, and I think you make some good points there with De Zerbi. Like, when I was looking at like his list of strikers, and they're all so different. Like,
Hmm.
he had Welbeck, he had Undav, he had Ferguson, João Pedro, Neil Maupay. Like, he made Solly March look like an unbelievable player. Like, so he can take players who need elevating and elevate them. Hence, maybe why we're going for a Savinho. He can improve the thing is when people it makes me laugh about this youth policy because so many Spurs fans going into this season are like worried about the youth team and worried about the progression path. But when you look at the average lineup from preseason, it's littered with youth players. It was like, Luca Williams Barnett featuring. You had, so many different players like in defence, in the midfield, in the attack, given chances. Mikey Moore given another chance, when people are not sure about his future. I just feel like people just see youth academies now. I mean, it probably doesn't help where Chelsea have now called their under 21s and under 18s, was it Cobham Next Gen or something?
Hmm.
I mean, they might as well rename it to like just talk about how they're just used for profit. I think that's where people get a bit because like we've sold Alfie Devine, we've sold Will Lanks, like we're selling a few. Everyone's like, oh no, there's no pathway, but I still think there is. But the problem you've got is when you're in a season with 1 game a week plus cup competitions, it's harder to integrate them because at least you can rotate them a bit more if you've got some sort of European football. You mentioned Luca Williams Barnett there and the number 10 position. Does that worry you at all? Because I mean, the bit that disappoints me is if Xavi Simons was in that 10 and we had that forward line with that midfield, we saw what he could do last season against Brighton towards the latter stages. He is just, I feel like the perfect De Zerbi 10. I guess Marmoush could play 10. But apart from that, you've got James Maddison, who's, still trying to get match fit. You've got Dan Kulusevski, who's still trying, don't know what's going on with him. He's back on the grass. And then you've got an Archie Gray who could maybe finish off that midfield three, or a Conor Gallagher. How are you feeling about the 10 position? Is it a worry, or is it, for example, I've heard people go, well, why aren't we signing a 10 as well? But then you're looking at a whole new 11, aren't you?
Yeah, look, Fernandes can play in there, but I don't want to do that because you're taking him out
Mm,
of his prime position, and this is what gets us into this mess in the first place. You start playing with people out of their primary roles.
mm.
I think De Zerbi has shown though his tens really do vary between teams and what their responsibilities are. They aren't all a stereotypical creative outlet. So a Conor Gallagher 10 in that role will be a completely different profile and function than a James Maddison, and he will have plans to accommodate for those creativity drop-offs in other ways and embrace the strengths of a Conor Gallagher and his pressing and all that stuff. But Spurs, I think we were in a dilemma. We've got the James Maddison dilemma, and you've got a
Good way to
choice,
word it.
Tottenham. You either persevere with Maddison. The rumours are we are because we're going to make him captain, apparently. That's what the rumours are, right?
Yeah,
Let's
I've
see if
seen it.
that's true. Probably by the time this comes out, we'll probably know who the captain is. Um,
Yeah,
but I kind of think there's a risk to that. That if you keep him, you can't sign another true consistent 10 in that role because your squad's too full. You've got Kulusevski to come back, Siemens to come back. You're trying to bring through Williams Barnett, and you've got Madison top of the tree. So you either just accept Madison 2 years left in his contract. I believe the statistic was he has played 90. Do you know how many times he's played 90 minutes in 3 years, three seasons?
that's a really good question, because I'm thinking, did he get injured in that Chelsea game? The infamous Chelsea game. That was where he got injured,
I
didn't he?
believe it was, yeah.
Oh, this is a really good question. How many times has he played night? Is this in all competitions or Premier League?
Oh, I don't know. Someone's going
Uh,
to have to fact check this as well, by the way.
yeah,
Someone who got because I think
I'm
it just
gonna
say Premier
say
League. Should we say just
I'm gonna
Premier League?
say 11 times.
I believe it was 7 in 3 seasons.
You're joking.
Someone fact check that and let us
That's
know
very
in the comments.
Very Romeo Lavia, that, isn't it? Oh my
So
god! I mean, he's not a spring chicken though, is he? What's he now? He must be. He's
30.
29. Yeah,
Yeah.
29. Yeah, it would be 30 this year.
2 years left in his deal. His fitness is going to be worse after an ACL. I think you accidentally end up so in love with the idea of these flashbacks of him when he's on form because he is so good and fun on form. And he is just such a fun player to have at Spurs. I
He's very
love that
Spurs, isn't he?
yeah, he has that. Yeah, as a fan, you're like, can players sometimes just stop being robotic? Can they be a bit less like Harry Kane in front of a camera and be a bit more like James Maddison? Can they show us what happens when you lose a game, win a game, when you get an injury? Can you just bring us into the world of your life? And he does that beautifully. And he's a husband, he's got kids, and they all seem really happy. It's just a really lovely kind of atmosphere around him, isn't it? The skeptical side of me kind of says he's a Coventry boy, and within 5 minutes signing for Spurs, he's wearing a Gaza shirt and having his kids saying, "Come
Mm,
on, you Spurs." I would not do
yeah,
that if I signed for another club. I'm a
yeah,
Spurs
yeah,
fan
yeah.
personally, but anyway, let's embrace it. But the longer and I also think his reputation gets better the longer he's injured. Like
Mm,
what's it called? Absence makes the heart grow fonder.
yeah,
And I feel when he was playing, we were like, "Oh, you're so infuriating.
yeah.
You're good 33% of the time. You're not on form 33% of the time. You're injured the other 33% of the time." And now we're building an attack around him. I'm just
Mm.
thinking, do we would it be too crazy to suggest Spurs go and try get, let's just say, Morgan Gibbs White or someone of that
He
area and
would
just
really fit,
say,
wouldn't he?
Madders, if you can get yourself back to fitness, you've always got a space in the squad, but let's not bank on you coming back to fitness one day next
Yeah, and
season.
I could even see them playing him deeper, because there was
Yeah.
moments last season where you can tell he's just lost a bit of that edge. And whereas Xavi Simons, I could imagine him picking up and proper driving it. I can see Madison picking up and slowing it down. And De Zerbi wants us to be like bang, bang, bang sort of thing. But no, quick question actually before we get on to the quick fire Premier League predictions rather. Who do you think should be the captain?
So for me, is a short list of basically three players. You've got obviously Van de Ven, who had the captain's armband last season.
Mm,
Then you've got Pedro Porro, who's a World Cup winner, obviously, and his availability makes it another shout. If you look
Hmm.
at just accolades, Robertson, but he's not going to start, so I'm not sure you
Yeah.
really put that in there. There's not many standout options, is there?
No.
So that's where it's tough. I'd do the weird thing and probably have a dual vice captaincy and have a captain. So maybe it's for me, it's either Porro or Van der Ven as captain, and then one or the other plus Madison as vice if we keep Madison. Because I know captaincy is about leadership on the pitch, but it is also about embodying the heart and soul of your football club,
Mm.
representing it well off the pitch. I think
Yeah.
that's what people really adore about Madders and what he does really well. So I don't want to just eject the idea of him from the conversation. But people don't. I don't know, I'll ask you as well. Why? I feel like people are really against the idea of Porro. I get Van der Ven. People saw his head drop a bit last season and thought, "Well, you've showed you're not the leader." But Porro, people seem really against it. Why do you think that is?
Do you reckon it? Maybe is it his over emotion? I don't know if it's like he can really like 1 minute he's like cheering like really boosting the crowd. Then he sort of head drops as well. He had a little to and fro with the fans last year, but then Van der Ven also had his situation with Thomas Frank. I mean, it's so tricky. It's so tricky to pick one because it's hard to find a leader amongst these guys who again have finished 17th back to back across 2 seasons. So, I mean, my gut instinct would be Van der Ven because I feel like his fitness, touch wood, has got better. But then I'm seeing reports today that he might not feature. Well, he definitely won't feature in the opening game. So I'm like, well, then you've got a situation of like probably Robertson will start because Adogi's not fit. So again, like ahead of the first game, you still don't know who your captain is. I mean, maybe behind closed doors they have it. They're waiting for a big announcement because Madison probably won't play either. So like, and Pora won't play. So all the players we're saying, like, it might be Archie Gray. Like it wouldn't be like if he's
Yeah,
playing right back, I could see a world where they just give it to him as a
that's
little.
that would be brave.
Mm,
Go give it to someone such as Archie Gray, or make him a vice captain or something.
yeah,
That would be very interesting to see happen. But it would not surprise me if De Zerbi just did something off field that no one expects with that
yeah,
decision.
and even I wonder because you sort of have seen players. I mean, Granit Xhaka got the captain's armband straight away at Sunderland.
Hmm.
Declan Rice is spoken about as he should be the Arsenal captain. Bruno Fernandes is not a stereotypical captain. I could see a world where in a year's time, say you give it to Madison and then you move on, maybe it's Sandro Tonali, like someone in the middle of the park I mean, I don't know how vocal Tonali is. I mean, my dad had a theory that he didn't think Van der Ven was that vocal. Like, it's funny how we all have these like weird little debates about all these
Mm.
things, but
It's
I don't know.
also everyone just has their favourite.
Yeah, I think
So
that's what it is.
there's so much contradictory comments that go on. People
Yeah.
go, like Porro and Van der Ven, I've heard both been called emotional a lot.
Mm,
And then I'm thinking, who was blubbing their eyes out at the end of the Europa Cup league final was Madison, who's
yeah.
often known for getting really emotionally sucked into referees in games when they've had 2 foots put into them. It's Madison. But we don't call him emotional, but we'll call Porro emotional, we'll call Van der Ven emotional.
Yeah.
They've
That's a really good
all
point.
they're all a bit emotional. They're footballers who were in a relegation scrap with us last season, and I want my captain to be emotional. I want them to care in a way.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's a negative, but I just think we've all got preferences. A lot of people didn't want Romero to go, so I think they naturally just look at every other decision as skeptical for now. They're just like, well, we should
Mm,
never have got rid of him. So any decision post that is wrong, and it will take
mm.
a few wins for people to feel the love again for those guys.
100%, honestly. But to round up, then we will do quick fire Premier League predictions or season predictions. So I hope these ones are. I've been fair here, and basically, I just want you to say your answer and why. So we'll get straight on with it. So can you give me your Tottenham Premier League predictions? Where do you think Tottenham will finish in the Premier League?
Fourth.
Why is that?
Because when I look at the teams with better squads, if I look at each team individually, you've basically got Arsenal. Unfortunately, you're just going to walk it. I think that's
Mm,
that's first place tied up. Then you've got Chelsea, who I think have a really strong squads. They've got a really good manager. I think they're a year ahead of us or so in that squad building process. I just think they're in a better spot to finish above us, with also having no Europe. And then you've got, in terms of other teams, you've got like Liverpool and Man City. Now, they're not as strong as they're made out right now, but I'm not going to discount City because they're going to sell Savinho and Marmoush to us potentially, and then they're going to just go massive. And I don't know what they're going to do. So I'm not going to bank on finishing above a club like that right now. But I think Liverpool are in deep trouble with the depth of their squad. They've got one okay right back, and that's about it. They're in this conundrum of not being able to move on from Van Dijk quite yet, but needing to at the same time. Iriota, I think they'll play really exciting, fun football, but they've got too many injuries up front. Ekatike's out. Isak's injury prone. I think they'll score loads of goals and be a lot of fun, but defensively there'll be question marks. And Iriola's going to go through a big learning curve juggling Europe as well, again with the squad of egos and big players like that, and injuries and the pressure that comes with it. So I think Spurs are the team that could pip Liverpool without Europe if they get their attacking signings in. If we get them. If we don't get these attacking signings in, I'm putting Spurs in a Conference League, maybe Europa League spot. If we get these signings in, I think Spurs can jump up to fourth above those clubs and just be behind Chelsea, Arsenal, and City.
Nice. Top goal scorer.
Is it ones we got today or ones we might?
I feel like you can use your imagination. If you think it's going to be Mamouche, you can say Mamouche, and then what will be? It'll be a prediction, and then when it doesn't happen, the prediction's wrong.
A Gakpo, if we get him.
Yeah, I've said I think he would come in and be one of our better finishers. So yeah, I can fully back that. Who do you think is going to be our top assister?
So who's gonna? I'm gonna go Savinho if we sign him.
Nice. Who do you think is going to be the player of the season?
Savinho is going to make all his doubters eat their words.
Nice. Who do you think is going to be the flop of the season?
I feel who's going to be the flop of the season? I'm torn between. I don't think they're going to flop, but I could see a world in which Robertson, at his age, suddenly looks a bit physically out of depth, and
Mm,
we think, "Oops," you know. But equally, I could see him being chipping in with loads of good assists and being a bit of a Perisic type signing.
yeah,
So, it's between him and Madders just because of injuries. I could just see us having a great start with Madders and then just an injury and then just being gutted he's out all season and that's his contribution over. Right.
yeah.
So, or Kulu, another one. Are we too hopeful that he's going to ever come back?
I know. Oh, don't.
It's tough. I
I
don't
just
like
want
to
to
say
see
any
if.
of it because I really like all these players we've got in there at the moment.
Yeah,
And I can see a world as well that Madders and Kulu come back to one game a week and we're like, whoa, they're finally back. They're so good.
mm.
But yeah, I'll just say Madders.
And we have the signing of the season.
I'll go for Gakpo if we
Nice.
get him. Actually,
Uh,
oh no, actually, no. I'm going Fernandez. Fernandez.
you think?
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of people touting him up, saying like, I heard a West Ham fan at talkSPORT the other day say he's one of the best individual players he's seen next to Payet and who else did he say? He said Payet and one other. He didn't. I said not even Jared Bowen. Payet and there was one other. But I mean that's good
Mm.
company to keep, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Who do you think is going to be the most improved? This could be anyone because they were all quite poor.
I'm going to say Porro because I think he's not had the best season in a Spurs shirt in the last two seasons. But
Mm,
I think his actual genuine seat, I think he's been playing at his floor with Spurs because of the situation around him. But his ceiling is what we see when he plays for Spain.
nice. Breakout star.
I'll go for Williams Barnett.
Yeah, nice. Do you think Tottenham will win a trophy?
Yeah, I think we'll win the League Cup.
Will Roberto De Zerbi be sacked?
Not this year. Eventually.
And finally, what is your rogue Tottenham prediction?
Hmm. Rogue Tottenham prediction. Well, is it rogue to say that I think Spurs will finish above Liverpool this season and Liverpool will finish outside the top six?
I'll allow it.
Yeah.
There we go. So you think fourth, and then you think or eighth, depending on the attacking
Certainly,
side.
if we don't get the attacking signings,
I think you're
we're
spot on.
not getting the Champions League with that
This actually
attacking
might
lineup.
be the worst time to do predictions because it's literally on like we don't know what's by the time this video goes out we'd probably be signing Nicholas Jackson or something. So,
Yeah.
but we will see. But we're going to leave it there. I want to say a massive thank you to Jim from Oh So Spurs. Do you want to? Obviously, the video is going to be collabed with yours, but do you want to give a plug to your content, your social media platforms as well?
Yeah, so we're on YouTube, daily content out there. We do stuff with professional coaches, professional analysts, and the fun pods with fellow fans as well. Also on X, Jim at Jim Oh So Spurs, I think it is.
Yeah.
On X, you want to follow me on there. I'm at the moment just kind of teasing and winding up Villa fans, so you can join in with me if you want to.
That's really good. Yeah, I don't mind winding up. There's a Villa fan at talkSPORT, and I'm going at him. He had to. He works on the website team, and he had to write the breaking news line about Conser leaving yesterday, which was quite. I took a picture of him while he was doing it, but it is what it is. But obviously, as I said, I'll be collabing this with Jim and the Oso Spurs channel, and our little quickfire predictions will also be going on my socials. We'll collab as well, so you can follow each other's on there. But if you have enjoyed it, let me know all your predictions in the comments down below and what you make of the signings so far, the signings that we are yet to make. Also, leave your likes, subscribe, hit the notification bell, use your hype points to hype the video as well. And come on, you Spurs, ahead of... We didn't actually even preview Brentford. Let's just quickly, how do you think we will do going into that game?
I think we won't have our attackers in, so I'm going to go for a draw with lots of positives in terms of playing out the back and some good midfield work, but one or two mistakes in there as well. Maybe Van Hecker's looking for that attacking player to pass to. They don't make that run, go straight to an opposition player and they score one of those moments. But we do enough to get an equaliser, come out feeling all right about it, then get our few signings all landing the week after feeling good and wallop Newcastle.
And that's when the season properly starts. And we'll
Yeah.
probably do another predictions then. But yeah, I think I'm going with 2-1. I'm backing the boys. I'll see what happens. But I'm very nervous thinking about it. Now we're on the eve of it. But as I say again, thank you, Jim, very much. You can find his channel down below. If you have enjoyed it, do all what I said before. And until next time, guys, up the Spurs. And I'll see you guys soon. Bye.
Come on, you Spurs.